Hi, I'm Marissa, and today I want to share my ideas on technology. So, technology is a beautiful thing. We use it in entertainment, we use it for movies, we use it for school, we use it for, in medical cases, and I'm using it as I'm speaking right now. I'm using my camera from my laptop, which is technology. So, I could argue that I use technology 3/4 out of the day constantly. Like me knowing that, acknowledging that I'm using it. Between, using my computer or watching TV, using my phone to connect with my friends and whatnot. So, or I could just say that I use it constantly, nonstop, because when I'm sleeping, even technology doesn't rest completely. So, I'm still receiving emails at night. I'm receiving texts. I use my phone as a alarm in the morning. I use it for my calendar. So technology is a beautiful thing. However, there's some problems with it. There's problems in society with interactions. See, what I found is that the social interaction is hindered by this technology. The way we connect through technology takes away from our ability to have that personal connection. So, for example, last year I got invited to another school's prom through a mutual friend. And so I've never met this mutual friend. So a friend of a friend. So I got set up to go on a date to go to prom with him. So I never met him, and so when it came time to finally, figure out stuff for prom was 2 weeks away. So we got each other's numbers, we were texting, having great conversations. I learned about where he wants to go to college, his family, his interests, his sports, everything about him, having great conversations with him through text. So I didn't really realize how, text and, social interactions really differed until when it came time to finally meet him in person. So we started talking about a Monday of 2 weeks before prom, and so I was supposed to meet him that Friday. So we were texting and talking through technology for the next 5 days. And so when it came time to meet, I was excited. I was like, oh, I know a lot about him. I'm excited. This is going to be great. So when it came time to actually meet him, I said, hi, I'm Marissa. Nice to finally meet you. How are you doing? He said, good, my name's Joel, as you know. He was very awkward about it. And so this social connection, this physical connection wasn't able to happen because he was awkward about having had those great talks in text and then finally, putting them into motion in person. So within that problem, I also see there's another problem with the technology is reliability. Even though I've only lived in times where great technological advances have made, and I've grown up having a cell phone since the age of 13, and I've been relying on it and talking through people through IM and whatnot. So I've never really had the chance to live back in the 70s or 80s when we didn't have that. So the closest I can get to understanding what it was like without that is through movies and through memories that my dad has shared and my grandma and whatnot. So, and the movie Dazed and Confused is one of my favorites. It's set in the 1970s, and it's made present day, but it was set back in the 1970s. And so it's about high schoolers and how it's the last day of school and they're having a great party at night. And so one of the main characters, she's a female, and she is a freshman, and she's, trying to be a cheerleader. So the senior cheerleaders are putting them through trainings, showing them how it's worked and whatnot. And so one of the older cheerleaders says to her, okay, well, we're all going to go to this party, and I'll pick you up at your house at 7. So even though it is a movie and things work out, but it was just, I saw that reliability that she had, is that she was going to be picked up at 7, no questions asked, nothing. So today what I find is that if it's easier to, make rain checks or to change plans because we have that constant connection and constant talking through technology, through text, through phone calls and whatnot. Even though it's good, even if something terrible were to happen, but it takes away, the reliability, and it takes away the priorities and moves them around. So what I'm wishing to argue is that present-day technology hinders humans' ability to socially connect. Well, personally connect. So, but it helps even if you have. So one of my friends lives in Australia, and the only way we can connect is when we haven't seen each other in a while, is like through Skype, which is an incredible thing, but the intimacy is lost without that physical sense. Even though it's through a screen, you just lose that physical sense. So I don't have the intimate, memories that I wish I had. Even though I had met him in person, we have great memories. It's just we had to rely on technology now. But there's another sense of it, is that you can't solely base your relationship off of someone you meet through the internet. So, for example, I go to an all-girls camp every year, and the last time I went was 2 years ago. And so I was in a cabin with, 5 other girls, and so we lived together for a month, and we get to know everything about them. We're sisters for life because we have all these incredible, intimate connections with each other because that's all we have. We don't have technology. We give our phones away, or some people might sneak them, but I didn't sneak mine. And so we write our beloved ones back home, whatnot. So one of those girls in my cabin, her and I were talking because we both had boyfriends. We were the only two in the cabin who had boyfriends going into camp. And so, we talked about them, we got our letters from them, and she had her phone, so she snuck her phone in, so I would occasionally send the text message, saying, hello, I'm thinking about you, to my boyfriend at the time. And so we were talking, and she talked about how great he is, and, we talked about what type of person they are, and, how we connected them and whatnot. But then a week goes by, and I'm still thinking, this boy lives near her, whatnot. But a week goes by, and another girl in my cabin, Betsy, tells me that she's never met this guy. She met him online. And so when I came to confront her, I was blown away before I had the chance to really comprehend the idea. And so I asked her, I'm like, how do you maintain your relationship? And she said, oh, we do through Skype, we call, we text, all those types of things. And so I was like, okay, well then, how do you know he's the real person that he is? How do you know you connect with him? How do you stay in this relationship? She says, well, we talk about everything. I love him and all this. I'm like, okay, well, you only know his personality. You can't really, have that physical connection with him. She's like, yeah, but we're going to meet sometime, in a couple months or whatnot. And I'm like, okay, well, that's nice. And so when I was thinking to myself, how would it not be awkward the first encounter? How would you know that you're not going to meet someone else that you like better when you meet them in person? So it takes away from the fact that you have that social interaction when you rely solely on the technological needs. But for me, it's kind of hard for me to understand that fully because I had the opposite with my boyfriend at the time. I connected with him. I met him in person. I didn't even have the chance to add him on Facebook for a while, actually. And so we only had the first physical interaction only a couple times before we actually really we got each other's numbers, which I found was the most incredible thing because I knew I had that connection with him, and there was not a problem with us, having fun or having a conversation. There was no awkwardness with any of that. But when it came time for us to be apart, it was kind of awkward because we were so used to having each other in person. It's that we were trying to connect, text or whatnot, and it wasn't really working out. But at the end of the day, I'd rather have that connection, that intimate connection with another person than have the technological connection, which doesn't really mean much to me. So what I see is that, and the problem that I face now, that I see a lot more now that I'm more aware of, is how people are more reliant on technology socially interacting than opposed to in person. So for example, some people might set up a Skype date as opposed to, actually meet in person, go for a coffee or something. And that takes away from your ability to connect. And so how is our society supposed to move on in person? How are we going to maintain relationships if we solely rely through technology? So through this, I wanted to encourage people to strive for better in-person interactions as opposed to technological ones.